Alright, so I am Marcus Trice. I am doing a video for the first part of our week's assignment, which is for class FTT 2216-171. Basically, the question is picking a firearm and kind of doing a little research on it, something that you're familiar with, and talking about its sight system or sighting system. And I've chosen to choose a kind of an unusual gun. And that's the reason why I chose it, is because it's unusual, especially with the sighting component to it. Now this is a Kel-tec sub 2000. It's folded right now. It is safe, but I'll show that in a second here. There was two generations, and this is the second generation. What makes this gun unusual is that it folds, and as you fold it open, in the middle there, you will notice the sight as you lock it in. And that sight kind of pops up. So it's a fold away sight, which is kind of unusual. And I'm just gonna face it this way. There's nothing over here, so it's facing in a safe direction. The magazine's empty, and the firearm is also empty. So again, I get back to the rear sight is what's odd, and then also the front sight is a little peculiar. On the Gen 1s, it was a plastic front sight with a fiber optic post in it, and it had mixed reviews. But this one is more closer to an AR. And what's unusual about it again is that this is a carbine. This is a pistol caliber carbine, and its intended use would be really more tactical, maybe even range only. I don't think you would hunt with this. I'm sure that, well, because of the caliber size. I mean, you probably could, maybe prairie dogs or something silly like that, maybe something small. But what's weird about it is that you have this fixed sight in the rear here. You can't do anything to it. It's fixed. And the aperture on it, you can see the aperture on it is really small, especially for well, this one's 9mm, but they come in 40, I think it is 40, and I think they went to 45. But anyway, what's interesting is that because it's a handgun caliber, you would think that the aperture would be larger because you would be utilizing this in a closer shooting environment rather than long distance. A lot of carbines like this will come with two apertures, a large one and a small one, so that you have the option to go a little longer distance and then also shorter distance. So that is unusual. You can't adjust it, and it's kind of in an odd location, depending on where you're actually resting the firearm, and it's very high. As far as sights go, it's very, very high. And again, you can't adjust it. Now the front, you can. The front is a little bit more, it's more like an AR, like I said, and it's you can adjust it. There is a AR style front post with a detent that you can push down the detent and raise it or lower it. So that's your elevation. Now you can do some things with windage, and with this large screw, and you would loosen it up, and basically you're moving it side to side. I don't know how much movement is within it. I have it centered right now, and it does pretty well. So with that in mind, you've got a fixed front, fixed non-adjustable rear, and you have a Picatinny rail on it that you could actually mount an optic to it, a red dot, or maybe even a small scope. But you run into the problem of this rear pop-up, or hinged as they call it with Kel-tec, that's going to be in your way. So I think that you would have to remove this or put an optic canted on the side. So a lot of times ARs, for example, will have people will remove the sights, cant the iron sights to the side, and then mount an optic on it. But this one, you may be able to keep them keep them where they are, and then mount a side optic and utilize a side optic. So anyway, so this is the Kel-tec. Again, this would be used for tactical. The only tools that you would need in order to adjust this is a punch, or I think like Magpul and a couple of the companies have an AR sighting tool that you just basically push the punch down and then you turn it, and that will, like I said, will give you elevation. Let me just check, make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing on this one. And it says provide details explaining explanation of method of shooter should use the adjust sight for actually a various distances. Again, as far as various distances, I think that you're kind of limited with this sight back here. So this is an overall of a peculiar gun with an interesting type of sight, iron sight setup. Thank you very much.